Howdy-ho, Andrew aka Calfear here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to my Friday React video. So I have been tossing this concept around in my head for a while now on remakes. Remakes I want to see, remakes I want done. And hence the background. That's the game I desperately want to see remade in modern times. There's a number of titles I'd love to see remade, but Jade Empire, it's one of my favorite games from the old real BioWare studio, and I would love to see it remade into modern times with modern graphics and advanced story, because the one complaint I had about Jade Empire is start to finish was 20 hours. Just boom, you're done. Over with. Now it's too short. So I'd like to see them expand on it. Maybe add some open worldness to it, because Jade Empire was very linear. I love the game, but it was very linear. But yeah, so it's a topic that I've been tossing around in my head for a while. You know, just trying to think, what do I want to do? How do I want to present this? And then I was watching Asmongold the other day, and he showed a video covering this topic. So I figured, well, why don't I do a react on that video? Not on Asmon's, because I love watching Asmongold. They get so many ideas, but he's doing a react to a video already, so I don't want to be talking over him while he's talking over the video while the video's talking. You know, it becomes too much talking, too much talking over. So yeah, so I went to the original source of this video, and I'll put this video into my into the description of the video, and you can check it out for yourselves if you want to. But yeah, I thought, why not do a react on this, and we'll kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So let's get started. All right, remakes are beating new games, and it's not nostalgia. Let's see what he has to say.
Remakes and remasters seem to be dominating these days, and here's what's kind of cool. There's a new survey, and it shows something real striking, that 90% of you have played a remaster or a remake within the last few years. Which isn't really a surprise. I mean, I've certainly played a few, I imagine you have, and who could blame you? These games are dominating, and the biggest example is probably Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered, because that has outsold all but one of the new games released this year. So you might wonder then, is this just the industry's future? An endless cycle of nostalgic re-releases, forever, all consuming itself? Well, it turns out maybe not. Because
actually, I do think it is the industry future for the present, for the foreseeable future, because modern games are not good. They're not. They're not written well. They got all the bells and the whistles with the animation and the graphics and everything and soundtracks and, you know, the 4 and the 8K and just amazing visually, but they're not written well. They're really not. I hate always going to it, but it's Starfield. It's like, I really wanted to love Starfield. Like, you guys have no idea how much I wanted to love that game. And the writing just was not good. And, you know, so I played it. As I said in my video, I played 668 hours of it, and I don't feel connected to it. And for 668 hours, I should feel damn connected to it. But I don't. Whereas Jade Empire, you know, is a 20-hour game, and all these years later, I am still talking positively about Jade Empire because it was well written. That's really the nut and the bolt of the entire story. It's like the reason the nostalgia games or the old games, the remakes, are doing so well, and I didn't play any of the 5 on his list, just so you know. But I think the reason why they're doing so well is because they're interesting. The characters are interesting. They're not pushing modern day political agendas. They're not beating you over the head with, you must be gay. You know, they're entertaining. They're well-crafted games that suck you in and you want to play. That's my take on it.
Because for most people playing these remakes, it's actually not about nostalgia. It's literally impossible because most of them haven't played the original version. And that's just one snippet of the new data we've got about remakes. When I say every week brings a new remake or remaster, that's not idle words, it's quite literal. Last week had Trials in the Sky first chapter and Platypus Reclayed. This week there's Pac-Man World 2 Repack. Perhaps not Oblivion Remastered here, and you'd be forgiven for being confused at how it appears there's some cultural zeitgeist crying out for early 2000s games that have already been re-released reported half a dozen times. It's a bit weird, but in 2025, remake culture has really just reached new heights here. Like, to put some stats on the Elder Scrolls Oblivion situation, that remaster sold more copies in its first month than the original game did in 15 months, and in total, it has already completely outsold the original release of the game, which is kind of wild. Now, you could argue that something sad is happening here, that publishers are just pushing lazy nostalgia grabs because they can't make new games that are good, and that nobody's money's going to new games, and then maybe this all shows us that people crave the good games of the past that we used.
And that is it. People crave the good games. I am a very political person in real life. Like, if you on my channel, you'll notice I do 2 political videos every single week. That's not by chance or happenstance. I follow politics. I'm very well informed. But when I turn on a video game, I don't want politics unless, I should qualify that, unless it's like The Witcher. But The Witcher politics are not the real world modern day politics. They are the politics of that era. The Witcher is based on European lore, medieval. So the politics are the medieval European lore. It fits the situation. Those type of politics I like in games. What I don't like is, well, Veilguard. Like, I'll never play Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard. Dragon Age Origins is my number 2 game, favorite game of all time. Or actually, sorry, number 3. Number 3 game of all time. I freaking love that game. But you cannot pay me. They could not give me Dragon Age Veilguard for free because I still wouldn't play it. Because it's got nothing to do with Dragon Age. It's all about pushing 2024, 2025 special interest activist politics. That's what that game's about. It's got nothing to do with Dragon Age. So I have no interest in that game. But if somebody remade Dragon Age Origins, oh, I'd be all in there. I'd be all in automatically. Yeah, give me more, please. And that's what it is. I think that's really what it is the old games are fun. They're not political. They're not beating you over the head with the ugly hammer. They're not telling you to be gay or trans or whatever. They're fun. They're escapism. And that's what these games are supposed to be, is escapism. Fun. Entertainment. You play games to escape the real world. You don't play games to pull the real world into it.
To play, not the bad games that we get now. But that wouldn't make full sense because of a kind of staggering statistic from this recent survey, that 85% of you have played a remake or a remaster of a game that you did not play in the first place. So it actually seems that this stuff is expanding into a new audience. Let's dive into the survey, and to do that we gotta define our terms. Remakes are complete reimaginings built from scratch, so updated graphics, gameplay mechanics, and sometimes story elements. Remasters are enhanced versions of originals. That means improved visuals, sound, and performance, but the core gameplay staying the same. And here's what the data tells us. MTM Consulting surveyed 1,500 US and UK gamers, and GameIndustry.biz brought the data to our attention, and for the sake of uniformity, they gave respondents those specific definitions so everyone's on the same terms, and then they asked people how they feel. And the findings, so there's the 90% stat of people having played at least one remaster or remake, and considering how many there have been, that's not a surprise. Then there's the 85% stat that I just talked about. But there's some other ones too. 80% and 71% of people respectively believe that these games are comforting and nostalgic at the same time as being a good way to share beloved games with new generations. So through these numbers, we actually see that the majority of people are picking up these games for the first time, and we'll come back to that. But where it's getting tricky for publishers is what the hell to do. And we've got big examples of that. Some of them are, say, older Assassin's Creed remake examples. There's the whole Space Marine 1 thing. And there's a core tension. If you change the game too much, some people won't like it. If you don't...
That's true. If you change the original game too much, you're going to get a backlash. It's like if you had these TV shows that are failing. They take The Witcher, Wheel of Time, Ring of Power, or Tolkien's, and they change it to suit modern day political activism. And nobody watches them. Nobody wants it. Because people want to watch the source material. And it's the same for the games. If you take Jade Empire and you suddenly turn it into Veilguard, I'm not going to play it. Nobody wants to play that because that's not Jade Empire. You know, he's wrong on developers not understanding. I think developers understand, they just don't like what they're hearing. Is nobody wants this special interest crap. Keep it out of the games and just go back to making good games. This is why people go back to the older games prior to the whole woke movement infesting itself into modern games. They just want to be entertained. That's all they want. They don't want political messaging. They don't want activism. They just want entertainment. It's not that hard to figure out. Like some of the games I would absolutely kill to see remade, and some of them actually are, and I'll be trying them, is Fallout 1 and 2. I love the Fallout franchise, except for 76. 76 can go with Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age Veilguard and just go away. Shoo, piss off. But I never got to play Fallout 1 and 2 not because I was too young, because clearly I was old enough, but I'm not a first-person shooter I'm an RPG player. And you might saying, Cal, it was an RPG. It was, but unfortunately when it was released, like we didn't have the internet back then, or we did, but we didn't have like YouTube and reviewers and everything. Like the only reviews we got were magazines, and those were grossly overpriced, so I didn't buy very many magazines. So I had to go on word of mouth from the computer store workers. And back then Fallout was not being marketed as an RPG, so I didn't buy it. I regret that greatly now, but Fallout 1 and 2 I did not buy because they were not RPGs as far as I knew. And then Fallout 3 eventually came out, and I fell in love with the franchise, and I went back and I tried to play Fallout 1 and 2, but they were too dated. They were just too dated for me. So I would love for Fallout 1 and 2 to get remade. Just give it a full remake, modern day graphics, modern day, but keep the storyline. Like everybody raved about the storylines in those games. And I've done a couple videos now on people that replayed those games. And I would love to replay them myself, but I just found the engine way too clunky. So do a remake, and I'll be there day one trying them. Same thing goes for Deus Ex. Deus Ex Human Revolution is my number 4 game of all times. I freaking love that game. But when I went back and tried to play Deus Ex, well, Deus Ex really was a first-person shooter when it released, and I don't do first-person shooters. So when I picked up those games and I tried to replay them or play them for the first time, they were clunky. And I could not get into them because of how clunky they were, how the interface was. So I would kill for somebody to remake Deus Ex 1 and 2 in the Human Revolution or even the Mankind Divided engines. Give us those graphics, give us those engines, everything like that, but give us the Deus Ex story from 1 and 2. Now, Deus Ex is being remastered. I don't know if it's a full remaster or if it's a revitalized. I tried a revitalized on Deus Ex already, and it didn't click for me. It was still too clunky. But if it's a full remaster, oh yeah, sign me up all the way. But see, this is just what I'm saying is there is a lot of old games that I would love to play with modern day technology. I would kill for it. And But again, those old games, I want those old games because they were fun. This is what modern games seems to be missing, is the fun part. Nobody wants to go into these games being preached at. We get enough preaching in the real world. We want fun, escapism, enjoyment. Worrying about somebody's pronouns is not enjoyment. It's not enjoyment in the real world, for crying out loud. Just let us play the games, for crying out loud.
Don't change it enough. Other people also won't like it because maybe what they're expecting is a Resi 4 remake tier of work. But you know what's nice? We don't need to take this shit in vibes because now we've actually got some data. Well, let me know if this gels with your experience. So 35% of players say remakes are better when they change narrative or gameplay elements. 30% say they're worse. 35% say they're fine either way. So yeah, if you're a developer, what do? It's a third, a third, a third. Because regardless, it seems some people are going to be unhappy. And this might explain the continual discourse around these games. We haven't settled on the correct approach, but we have now learned some things. So what affects player experience the most? Well, making games look and feel modern, and as the survey people put it, gamers expect major graphical overhauls, updated controls, and improvements to mechanics.
Yes.
Now, this is where we can get into some solid examples. Take Capcom's Resident Evil remakes. At least one of the interviewees specifically cited tank controls, basically just saying gamers of a younger age would probably struggle with them. And yeah, can you imagine the Zoomers and the Gen Alphas trying to do tank controls?
I'll go one better, because I say this all the time. I would pay real money to watch the Gen Zs try to play some of the old SSI Gold Box games or the original Might and Magic RPG game. Like, I would pay real money just so I could sit back and giggle myself to just nonstop as they tried to utilize those mechanics and graphics and everything. Because I don't think 99% of the modern gamer, the Gen Zs, and I'm going to say 30 and below, age 30 and below, I don't think they could do it. I really don't. I think they would get so frustrated and so angry that 90% of them would quit in a huff and in an absolute tantrum. And maybe I'm going to upset some people saying that, but I really do think that would happen because those games were so unforgiving and they were so difficult. It's not like you're not being handed and codified like you are in modern day games.
Original Resi, that would be mad. Though obviously, if you change too much, it will feel wrong to fans of the original. Like, in a way, there has to be a little bit of authenticity promoting clunk in the controls of Leon, because if he controlled like an uber badass, he wouldn't exactly play like one, because it's your mastery of his controls that actually nails the character's development and capability throughout the series. But as we press on through the survey, well, we get to talk about pricing. And certainly, there's opinions in pricing. 74% of users expect a game to be cheaper than the original release to a greater or lesser degree. And that's both about the value of the upgraded product and the decision to publish it at all. 6%, though, go further. They say they want them free or within subscription services.
There's always going to be those people that think it should be free. That's the era we live in. Free to play. There's always going to be those people. I believe it should be significantly cheaper. One, they already have it written, so they don't have to hire writers. Like, you literally could take the words from those old games and put them into the new one. All you're paying for is the graphical update. And you might say, well, that costs money for artists. Not really, because most of this stuff, like I use Deus Ex as an example. I'm not saying recreate the wheel. I'm saying take 1 and 2 and put it into the established Human Revolution engine or the Mankind Divided engine. So you already have the engine, you already have the art, you already have the systems. All you're doing is you're taking this and you're putting it into this. So it should not be the same price or even slightly. It should be a significant discount because most of the work is already done for you. That's how I see it.
And also timing matters. Only 4% of people think 2 years is enough time between releases, 14% say 3 to 4, 32% say 5 to 6 as the appropriate amount of time, and certainly, hey, looking at you PlayStation, you guys really do like doing it pretty quick. But if you want a perfect example of everything going wrong, it comes from a really goddamn sad place, and that is the Space Marine Mastercrafted Edition from Sega earlier this year. Oh dear, it did not do well. Existing players felt cheated, there was no discounted upgrade path, the Anniversary Edition had effectively been re-released back in 2021, and the Mastercrafted Edition really didn't add enough graphical improvements whatsoever. It felt like a cheap cash grab to capitalize on Space Marine 2 being pretty goddamn good. So here's the lesson. Especially once a game is accessible in a modern digital format to audiences, you can't just keep hitting the re-release button. But companies will obviously keep trying, and that's because the opportunities far, far outweigh the costs. Gotta talk about the business case. Think about the business side like this. Oblivion is a goddamn dream scenario. It massively outsold the original, in great part because there are simply more gamers now. The one thing you'll see in, like, say, rookie startups is people being like, oh, you know, if I just get 10% of the market, then I'll make X amount of money. And that's a little bit silly, but it can kind of fit our purposes for here. Even if you assume that a game sold to 1% of the audience way back in the day, and it could still sell to 1% of the current audience again in 2025, then it would be worth the cost of updating because, good God, the audience for games has increased massively. And this survey effectively validates that logic. The idea that 85% of players are willing to buy remakes with no personal attachment is huge. Now, maybe they have nostalgia for an era. There'll be creator coverage, maybe from people who played it back in the day, so these remasters will kind of have Vanguard-ish super fans. And it helps with branding. Popular games guarantee at least some audiences. And taking a look at my personal playing habits, I've got to say I do have a bit of a theory here in why these games can work so goddamn well. So, across this channel, across the years, we've talked about so many game development stories that have been utter goddamn shit shows. I think a great example of one which, I mean, that it even came out is kind of shocking. It would be Dragon Age Veilguard. So the deal with Dragon Age, right, that went through like multiple redevelopments, and I believe they did a reboot and then made the version we got in like 18 months. And that is a story that is just repeated across so many games. Now, a lot of that is because of planning risk, right? There's the game that they plan, and then they just keep on needing to goddamn reboot and reboot and reboot, and it ends up being complete chaos. But you see with these remasters, you already have a proven formula, and that proven formula means you have far less design risk. One of the things that we talk about in like project planning is the difference between a known unknown and an unknown unknown, right? So an unknown unknown is something you just truly cannot predict, and any purely new project is going to be stuffed full of them. Whereas if you're doing a remaster of a game that you've already got like the whole template for, man, that's going to be way, way, way easier because,
like I said, you already have it written, you already have the characters, you already have this backstory, you already have the environment. That's a big chunk of your costs gone because it's already there. You don't need to pay writers, and with Bethesda, it's ironic they keep showing Bethesda because we all know Bethesda doesn't pay writers new or old. But anyway, you don't have to pay writers to recreate the wheel. You just need to get writers to carry it over. That's cheaper than recreating the wheel. So
you can point to everyone across your production team to the literal thing that they're remaking. And that is actually huge, because one of the things we're pretty good at in this industry is, well, scaling up big production teams. One of the things we're less good at is effectively using all of those production teams. Some of that can be bad management, as seen in so many stories. Some of that can just be that games are extremely complex insofar as software development goes. They have so much design risk that with teams as large as game teams have ended up being, it's hard to just utilize everyone well. And that's where I think the remakes and the remasters actually can do something really important. they can take away risk, and that opens the door for pretty amazing levels of polish. The best examples, of course, Resi 4 and probably Oblivion. I'm sure you can name a few as well. But here's the weird thing. It's not just successful games getting remastered. Any game that exists within an IP library can get a second chance. If a game was niche before, well, actually that niche could be far larger in 2025. And that's why we've been seeing companies hoovering up legacy IP. Seriously, Embracer does it, Atari does it, Microids, I think I'll go with Microids, they do it as well. If you can sell die-hard fans of the old stuff, you can also sell to new genre fans, and it seems that's been driving a lot of IP hoovering up over the last few years. Ultimately then, it's a perfect storm. You get either lower development costs or perhaps more efficient deployment of your capital because, well, you know, you're remaking a thing. You already know what the thing looks like. Even better for the rights holders, there's the potential of outsourcing for upscaling and improvements with the likes of, say, Asper. That sort of thing's always been the case, but with this new data that we've got, we can see that the audiences, we are just as responsible for all of this stuff happening because we actually do turn up for these games and we buy them. And you know what? Whenever I think about my recent play habits, yeah, there's actually a lot of this in them because it's been Oblivion remastered. Recently, Last of Us Part 1 remastered. You know why? Girlfriend hadn't played it. We wanted to play through it together. The upgraded version, as it turns out, well, yeah, the multiplayer ain't there. God damn, it is gorgeous. And the gameplay updates have it playing slick as hell. It's been a brilliant experience. And it proves the core of The Last of Us is as timelessly good as it always was. If you give it a big new lick of paint, it'll just be the best version to play now. In the best case, it can be like when you get a new scan, a new remastering of a classic movie that's absolutely beloved, that allows people to fully enjoy it and fully appreciate it on newer hardware. And I think that's honestly great for games.
I agree. Like I said, I would love to see Deus Ex 1 and 2. I would love to see Fallout 1 and 2 remastered. Other games I'd love to see is Knights of Legend. I freaking love it. It's an old Commodore 64 game, so it's really old. But I freaking loved that game, but the only way to get it now is an emulator, and even the emulator doesn't run very well. I tried it. So I would love to see one of these companies grab that and take the core design and just update it, modernize it, clean out the bugs, and I'll be there day one with it. Jade Empire. I would kill for a new Jade Empire. You know, with Saudi buying EA, one of my hopes, and I have no reason to hope this, but I'm hoping it all the same, is that Saudi takes the Jade Empire IP, and if they don't remaster Jade Empire, they come out with a part 2. You know, now that Saudi's bought it and they can get rid of the modern day BioWare and all the baggage that comes with them, just get a company like Lyrian that did Baldur's Gate 3. Get them. Do Jade Empire 2. You know, I would love that. Like I'd be in absolute glee. So, yeah, it's just like, as I said at the start, modern games, the original games, modern games, they don't have the writing right now. They don't have the draw, the appeal. Those people are too occupied with pushing their political agendas. I just want games that are fun, detailed, engrossing. I don't want to be preached at. I just want to have fun. So
there's loads of games that I think shouldn't be relegated to the past. But there is another side to this. Making new games is more expensive than ever. And as an example of that, Shuhei Yoshida, who you may know for being fairly legendary within PlayStation for a long ass time, he was saying recently, and he's not with PlayStation anymore, but that the single-player games now cost so much money to make that they actually need the additional income from remasters and PC ports to actually make shit viable. Now, theoretically, there is an upper limit here. You can't constantly remake old stuff because eventually you'll run out of it. And if there's any form of reckoning our industry is going to face, It's probably that senior staff have often been treated quite badly. There's been a lot of burnout. There's been a lot of people leaving the games industry. And in an ideal world, they are the people who make the new games using all of their experience. And in my estimation, when you combine that with a lot of industry trend chasing, that's probably a large part of why a lot of new games just don't feel like they hit as good as games used to. Games, when they're remastered, it sure does seem we all lap up and buy. Okay, what I want you to do is let me know what is your best and worst recent experience with a remake or remaster. And once you're done with that, well, there's a company we need to talk about. It's called Bungie, because, goddamn, I think they need a remake or remaster at this stage. But seriously, the situation's kind of dire, and you can learn all about that in this video next.
So yeah, there you go. Pretty good video. I understand what he's saying. I disagree on some of the points. I agree that modern games are expensive to make, but you look at Cyberpunk 2077, that game probably cost a fortune to make, but they made it back because it was quality writing. I think that's really what it comes down to. Like, I'm an RPG guy, so I focus on writing and story. If you're a Twitch player, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, pew, pew, well, writing has become more important in those titles, but it's still not as important as the gameplay. So I can't really speak on that. I speak from the RPG standpoint, and the RPGs, for the most part, have not been good in the last 2 decades. There's been a few, but for the most part, they've not been good. They've not been quality. And they always come down to pushing. The modern day writers want to push their political agendas no matter what the setting. Like, you've seen it. There's that Assassin's Creed game where they got the Black Samurai. And they went overboard trying to convince everybody this is factual. No, it's not. It's not factual. It's well known. It's been proven. There was no Black Samurai. There was a slave, black man brought in as a slave who was subservient to a samurai, and that was Yashiki, but there was no renowned Black Samurai. The only reason it was put into this game is to push the whole diversity, inclusion, blah, blah, blah. But that's 2025 politics. That's not feudal Japan. And this is where we run into the problems. Is people just, the majority of people, I shouldn't say all people, but the majority of people, they just want the games to be fun and accurate. Like, if you're doing a Jade Empire, you do Jade Empire, I expect Oriental characters. I don't expect white people. I don't expect black people. I don't expect Pakistani, Indian, blah, blah, blah. I expect Oriental people because that fits the setting. Got nothing to do with racism, people. It just fits the setting. And yeah, so that's what's killing the games nowadays is the political activism. At least in my opinion, it is. It makes me not want to play. It's like I said, for Starfield, I wanted to love that game. I really did. And I loaded it up and because it's a pretty game. Make no mistake about it. If anyone tells you Starfield is not a gorgeous game, just tell them where to go, because it is. It is an absolutely stunning game. So I was at first like, wow, look at this. Wow, wow. And then the third named character I meet announces that he's gay. Okay, great. But as you play the game, you realize the only reason he's gay is for being gay. It doesn't actually add anything to the character or the story. He is literally gay so that they could put in a gay character, companion. That's it. And I'm like sitting there going, why? Like, what does this add to the game? I don't know. I get tired of it. I just want to enjoy my games. So I think the reason why a lot of these remakes are so popular is because they don't have that stuff in it. Like, even Dragon Age Origins had a gay character, but they didn't hit you over the head with it. It was there. It was his characteristic, but it was a background. He didn't announce it. He didn't push it on you. It was just It was his character, Liliana. She would be the romance option for guys or girls. But she never pushed that on you. Mass Effect. Same thing with Liara. Yeah. And the list goes on and on. The older games had this stuff in them, but they didn't hammer you over the head with it. They didn't make it the focus point of the characters. They were just the background. The story, the interaction, the companionship. This was all the focus of the games. That other political stuff was in the background, and it was really inconsequential. And to me, that is the biggest difference between modern games and older games, and why older games are so much in demand nowadays, is because you take these older games and you're just having fun. That's all you're having fun. You're not getting a civics lesson. You're just having fun. And I don't understand why that's such a negative to some of these modern people. I really don't. I just want to have fun. I'll disagree with one other point about him. He says you keep remaking the older games and you're going to run out of older games. I disagree. I can think off the top of my head 200 Commodore 64 games that could be remade right now. 200. So that's what, a decade, 2 decades worth of new releases if you remaster them. I don't think you're running out of those very quickly. And then, you get past the 64, you're into the Amiga, you're into the first tier of Pentium, and then the Pentiums too, and on and on and on. So maybe I'm short-sighted, but I see it's taken us, I've got my first computer game in 1986 on a Commodore 64. It's now 2025, so that is 39 years. So even if it took another 39 years, I don't think we're running out anytime soon. I think he's grossly underestimating how many quality old games there are. But whatever, it's and it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Certain games are going to appeal to some players, other games are going to appeal to other players, but I see nothing wrong with remakes and remasters if they're done properly. But that's the key point, if they're done properly. Again, I'll point to the TV series. You got The Witcher, you got the Rings of Power, you got the Wheel of Time. Nobody wants to watch them. They're all canceled except for Rings of Power, but they'll be canceled at the end of this year or next season. And nobody wants to watch them because they've all been politicalized. We got to move away from this modern era of politicalizing everything. And just with games and entertainment, just make it enjoyable. Make it escapism for the masses and leave the politics out of it. Leave the special interest out of it. Just make it fun, enjoyable. Like I said, Knights of Legend. I love that game. It's in my top 20 games of all time. Even it was buggy as hell. Commodore 64, horrible graphics, but I loved it. I'd love to see it remade into modern era. But keep the storyline, keep the characters, keep the concept. Just update the graphics and everything, and we're golden. Jade Empire, Deus Ex 1 and 2, Fallout 1 and 2, the SSI Gold Box games. So those I do admit would be harder to remaster because they're just so unique as they are. And I still play them, so I guess I'm kind of biased. I don't think they need the remaster for those titles because I'm still playing them. They're still on my computer. I'm playing 2 of them right now. So, yeah, but yeah, I see huge potential. And if the modern writers are not willing to not push their agendas, then yeah, let's remaster the old games and just ignore the modern writers. You don't need union writers for the remasters because the writing's already done. You just need somebody to copy from this game to this game, the writing, Anyway, like I said, this has been going through my head for a while, and I was thinking of doing this video, and then I saw Asmongold do this react on this video. I thought, you know what? That's perfect. I'll just use this video and I'll react to it, and now you see the outcome, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoy this topic and it's something I'm passionate about and I want to see done. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I'll tell you what, leave me a comment. Tell me, what are the top 5 old games you want to see remastered? I've given you the ones that I'm passionate about. You tell me. Come into the comment section and you tell me the top 5 games that you want to see remastered, that you would pay to replay if they were updated. Also, commenting really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.